Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you decide to watch this video. This is gonna be a real estate video. It's free, no courses, no classes. You ain't gotta pay me. It's very easy, okay? It's easy, but it's hard at the same time because a lot of people, they never get to that point where they actually buy their own real estate. Like I said, you can always give me a thumbs up. I ain't got no Ferraris in the background. I ain't got no, nothing like that to try to keep you engaged. But I will show you this. There's the RAV4. Parked safely on the street. There's one. There's the dog. What's up, mamas? Hold on one second, mamas. I'll be right back. There's two. There's the Beamer in the garage with the top down. I park it in the garage with the top down. And there's the Workhorse. There's the pickup truck. Your car should be parked like this. I always say you should be a homeowner. If you need to park your cars and store them like this, it's time for you to move.
Damn shame I gotta do all this shit just to start my car, man. Just to get right. One mirror. Gotta do your pre-trip. They be fronting over here. Gotta look both ways. You never know who watching you. You think that was it? And I got this. Then I gotta do this. Look.
Now just imagine you're coming home late at night. You had a 12-hour day and you gotta go through all of that nonsense just to lock your car up. It's time to leave that neighborhood. Just imagine you got kids. If the neighborhood is that dangerous, imagine what the school system's like. Or your girl is coming home, all right? She's not paying attention. She had a long day at work and some fool comes and bonks her over the head and comes inside your apartment. I don't want to live like that. So that's why I say home ownership in a nice neighborhood is important. But before you start buying these toys, I suggest you get yourself a nice driveway and garage to park them in. Now, you can always give me a thumbs up, like I said, but my content is free. I'm gonna walk you guys through the easiest way and the best way to purchase a domestic home. I know somebody asked me about international real estate. We'll make a video on that in the future for free. I don't charge for that either. And I know some people go, yo, Larry, you could be making so much money with these courses and these classes. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the technology that we have now was not when I was growing up. I didn't have all this good information, and there's a lot of shitty information out here too. I didn't have a lot of this information when I was younger. I had to do a crash course, and I've always said, you know what I'm saying, like, it's not about the money. All money ain't good money, yo, especially when you're taking it from someone's home and they're barely making their bills. So international real estate will be a video in the future, okay? Before you start, this is what a lot of people didn't tell me. I had to learn this in New Jersey, and I'm sure it works this way around the country. What we do is we start riding around looking at homes. Yo, baby, I'm gonna get you this home. We start riding around the most expensive neighborhoods. Oh, yo, I make good money. I can afford that house. Okay. I'm gonna give you the steps, okay? These are the steps that I had to learn myself. Here's what you gotta do. You gotta be you gotta live in reality. First thing you gotta do, you have to be practical, and you gotta understand everything is around money. That's the number one thing, money. Money, credit, and your job. So, before you start looking at homes and you get your hopes up, go to the bank and get pre-qualified. Meaning, before you even call a realtor, before you meet with a real estate agent, before you get your hopes up, see what you're pre-qualified at. When you go inside of a bank, right, they got the tellers, and then they got those little desks, right? Those little desks, those are the people you go to when you want a home loan, a line of credit, or a car. Go meet with them. Go meet with them. If you're single, go by yourself. If you're married, go with your spouse. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, I suggest you don't bring them, okay? You do what you want, but I suggest you do not bring them. Because when it's time to pay the bills, if they're 100% going to be helping you, then you bring them. If they're not, don't bring them. See what you're pre-qualified at. If a house is $500,000 and you get pre-qualified at $300,000, guess what? They're only going to give you a loan for $300,000. You got to come up with the other $200,000 for that house. Do you know what plays a big factor? Your credit usage. This is why I say buying all the expensive cars, all the toys, every year.
We won't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing.
With us, man. What's going on?
What's good, everybody?
Come to Death Row.
It's unsustainable. Banks aren't going to keep giving you loans for cars or for houses. If they are, you're pulling equity out of other things. And you never want to do that. You never want to be house poor, and you never want to be car poor. You do what you want. But if you lose a job, if somebody loses a job, or inflation, you will find out very quickly you're either car poor or house poor. When you sit down, they're going to look at three things. Your employer, okay? How long you been at your employer? How much you make at your employer? They're going to look at your credit history. They're going to look at your credit usage, how much debt you have on your credit usage. Sometimes, now, I recommend doing this. I've done this. I had great credit back before I bought my two-family, the one I lost during a divorce. I did an FHA loan for that. I'll get into that in a second. I had good credit, but it wasn't strong. Meaning, I never bought anything and kept it long enough to pay it off. So right before I went for a house, I went and I bought like a $4,000 car. I made like 2 or 3 payments on it, and then I paid it off. That builds up and builds strong credit for you. You don't want to go from just like living with someone where you've never had a house and then just think you're going to get a house. You're most likely going to get denied because you don't have a strong credit profile. You want to build it up slowly. You'll see people, they'll go to like an appliance store. First, they'll do a TV. They'll finance it for a little while, and then they'll pay it off. They'll get a car, they'll finance it for a little while, and then they'll pay it off. Okay? That's what you want to do. So, that way you're getting strong credit. All right? Now, you could do what you want, but you might get your heart broken if you go for a loan, and guess what? Now they're not going to give you a loan because you don't have a strong credit profile. Okay? When you sit down, they're going to want to know how long you've been at your job. Simple, how long you've been there. If you haven't been there that long, they might not give you a loan. A lot of banks will contact your employer, okay? They will contact your employer to make sure they're not giving you a ninja loan. You know, no job, no income, they might contact your employer. And here's the thing, money. You need money for a down payment, okay? If you don't have 20%, and you put down anything less than 20%, maybe things have changed. I haven't bought in a home in the past. In the United States, I haven't bought in a home in the past like 10 years. I don't know how that works. It used to be 3%, maybe it's 3.5%. If you don't have 20% of the equity in the home, they're gonna hit you with something called a PMI. A PMI is personal mortgage insurance, meaning if you don't make the payment, the bank gets paid anyway. They get your down payment, they get the mortgages you did pay, and now they get their backside covered because we had the 2008 housing crisis and all this stuff going on, and yeah. So there's a PMI. I really wouldn't even worry about the PMI. A PMI comes off once you get 20% of the equity in the home, okay? Once you get 20% of the value of the home, of equity, the PMI automatically comes out, and because that's what I did. I did a PMI for my two-family. I did a 15-year mortgage, PMI, unless you're in the military. I think if you're in the military, you can put down less. I did the 3%, 3.5%. I was hammering the mortgage payments, putting bonuses and tax returns to it. Once I got to 20%, it recalculated. And the crazy thing was, once it recalculated, Wells Fargo bought my loan from Weichert. Like a different bank. Like it was a bank through Weichert, and then Wells Fargo came and bought the loan. It's very common for other banks to come along and buy your loan, okay? It's very common. Don't get freaked out by that if that happens to you. Just make sure you don't make a payment, because I ran into a problem where I made a payment to one bank, and then that same payment was due to Wells Fargo, and I was like, no. You better contact that other bank. I just paid them. And then they end up figuring it out. You know, it wasn't hard. But there's no class, there's no course that can teach you any of this stuff. This is why when people have real estate courses and classes, none of that shit works when you go to the bank. When you go to the bank, they want to know you have a strong credit profile. They want to know that you have money. They want to know that you have a job, okay? They want to know that you have a job. In reality, they want to know they're going to get their money, okay? They want to know they're going to get their money. They want to make sure that when they loan you the money, they're going to get it back. This is why I say, pay off your stuff. The more stuff you have out there, I want to ask you a question. If Ted owes 6 different people money, right? And now Ted comes to you and says, can I get a loan? You're going to be like, wait a minute, you owe him, her, him, her, him, her. You're more likely going to say no, right? For a number of reasons. There's a good possibility that it's going to take forever to get your money back, because if you try to collect, somebody's going to be like, I'm first. And number 2, there's a very good chance if this person keeps buying, if they keep borrowing money, they're not good at paying back money, right? They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They owe everybody money. So you're more likely not going to give them money, right? Banks work the same way. Banks want to know that you're in good standing with other creditors and they can get their money back. So say I bought 3 cars, which we did. We bought this, we bought the Beamer. Well, I bought the Beamer, I bought this, and I bought the truck. I bought all these cars. I'm a car guy, right? I bought these. If I go for a home loan, I'm in good standing. Each bank that I bought these cars from, it was a release that he paid it off. He's in good standing. I have a strong credit profile, meaning banks are more likely to keep lending me money. But when people keep borrowing money, and I know a lot of this stuff up here looks real, but it's not. When people keep borrowing money, you eventually reach a threshold where you can't borrow anymore because your credit usage, unless you're pulling equity out of homes or you're taking personal loans, which they won't even give you any money for that because you keep taking loans. You got to pull equity and HELOCs to pay this off and then pay that off. All you're doing is moving debt around. You may pay off your car loan debt, but now you just added more years to your mortgage. You don't want to do that. Now, before we get to the international of a video and international real estate, you want to make sure a lot of times, a lot of your domestic real estate is almost paid off or nearly close to being paid off. Okay. And I'll explain why in the next video. All right. Actually, I'm going to tell you right now because I might forget in the next video. You don't want to leave a lot of, open things, meaning you don't want to be paying too many things in this country and that country. If you're going to buy international real estate, I would make sure your home here is paid off because you don't want to lose a job and lose international real estate and domestic real estate. They don't play that shit internationally. They don't want to hear that shit. If you're looking to buy in paradise or somewhere cheaper or somewhere nicer, somebody else around the world is looking to do it too. They're not going to hold on to it forever. So, or if your home is almost paid off or you can get a nice egg from that and you want to go international, that's what I recommend you guys do. This is why we're saving, right? We're saving a lot of money, and I always talk about paying off debt, and we're selling a house right now. That way we have a super big nest egg. It doesn't always got to go in the market. It doesn't always got to go into real estate. It can go into a regular CD and get 5% of 500,000. So many people always worry about returns. Security is just as important as returns in my book. So I hope this video helps. Before you start looking at homes and getting your hopes up, go sit with a bank and see what you're pre-qualified at. That will tell you everything you need to know if you're wasting your time. You don't want to be looking at $700,000 homes and you can only afford a $400,000 home. And another thing, even if you get pre-qualified at $500,000, I don't recommend going all the way to $500,000 because now you're going to be house poor. Utilities go up, taxes go up. You got to cool that bitch. You got to heat that mofo. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be house poor. Inflation will kick your ass. You know, I would, if it's 500,000, I would give yourself some breathing room. You know what your breathing room is. Hope this video helps. The video was free. Thank you so much. Subscribe. No classes, no courses. That's how simple it is. It's pretty much 3 factors. Your job, your credit, and how much money you got. No regrets. Get it.